Smarterfan. Hey, everybody, welcome to another segment of Smarterfan Podcast, where we bring you behind the veil of sports, business, and life. I'm Joe, and this is Barry. What's going on, Barry?
Ooh, there's a lot going on in the soup. Lots of mixing up going in the soup. Everything happened. Denver got bumped. Oh, there's a lot going on in the sports world. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing just fine.
Awesome. What you got cooking tonight? I smell something good.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about a local hero, Larry James.
Okay.
He was born in Mount Pleasant, New York, and he took up track in the 7th grade at Highlands Junior High in White Plains. So now he attended White Plains High School, and he competed in the triple jump and the intermediate hurdles. Now, he was also a member of the relay teams that, set national records.
Mm-hmm.
So now he set the 400-meter world record at 44.1 in the 68 Olympic trials. Now, the reason he got the record is because his teammate, Leo Evans, who came in at 44, his record was disallowed because he wore illegal brush spike shoes.
Wow.
Yeah. So now James won 2 medals in the Olympics, the gold in the 4x400 meter relay, and he set a world record of 2:56.16. That was tied in 88 and then finally broken in 92.
What a record.
Yeah, man. Now, he won the silver in the 400 meter with a time of 43.97, and he finished second behind his teammate Evans, who had a time of 43.86, but they both beat the world record.
Wow.
So, now, as a collegian at Villanova under Coach Jumbo Elliott, he won the NCAA men's outdoor track and field 440-yard title in 1970. And he won the indoor track and field 440-yard title in 68, 69, and 70. And at the 68 Penn relays, his anchor leg of 4:43.9 was the fastest in the history of the relay carnival.
Yeah. Oh, man,
I mean,
moving.
He was just something else. Now, he was the head manager for Team USA at the 2003 World Outdoor Championships. And he had recently retired after 28 years as the Dean of Athletics and Recreation Programs and Services at the Richard Stockton College of New Jersey. So now in 2003, he was also inducted into the National Track and Field Hall of Fame. And unfortunately, he died on his 61st birthday.
Oh, wow.
Of colon cancer at his home in Galloway, New Jersey. So, I mean, I remember watching those Olympics. We were all gathered around my mom's TV, and my mom was going nuts because he was from White Plains, and all of this stuff. So, I mean, it was, I didn't know what was going on at the time because I was only 8, but it was something.
Absolutely. That's an awesome story. You always got great stories. Oh, man, you Mr. Trivia. We got to get you a T-shirt, Mr. Trivia.
I've been called Joe Google.
That fits. That'll work.
So, what's the pivot all about?
Well, Pivot is Ryan Clark and Channing and Fred Taylor's podcast. And I always dip over there because they have great interviews. And I caught a recent interview talking about, a particular LSU player who unfortunately had a brain tumor. that ended his career. And the kid was having a great career at LSU, and it was just very touching because a lot of people don't realize the pads come off, but the injuries don't. And sometimes those injuries end your career, or alter your career, or life happens like this young man. He had no idea he had a brain tumor, and they were able to find it and save his life. But he has some, lingering disabilities. As he said, I'm just glad to be alive because I could be dead,
Yeah.
And so I just, it's kind of the talked about thing about sports, even when you start to look at, Grant Hill's career cut short because of injury, Penny Hardaway cut short because of injury. It's a real part of sports. There's no guarantees when you walk on, you walk off, or you could have an injury that alters your ability to use your talent. You know what I mean? And it's real, and it happens at every level, and so you're kind of left with, man, he was slated, Grant Hill was slated to be the next one, and Penny, and you know what I mean? And unfortunately, the injuries, piled up, so it was just very touching. You see a 20-year-old, 21-year-old young man whose life is totally altered from being this elite athlete, suffering a brain tumor, but kind of rolls me into how, as I talked to one of my good friends about even at the pro level, a lot of guys really don't take care of themselves as you would think.
Right. Yeah.
As you would think they would.
Especially when they got the best medical plan in the world.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
I
mean, even if something as crazy as if you look at that guy, White, who plays for the Celtics, like if you go back 2 seasons and look at games he's playing, his front teeth are terrible. Somebody finally got across to him, my man, you make millions of dollars. Why does your front teeth look like that? He just got them fixed this year. And you know who talks about that too? Chris Carter. He used to tell people he was playing against and with. We do have a dental plan. It's like, bro, what's the disconnect? You know what I mean? What's the disconnect? So it's something else, man. It's something else.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
But I know you got some more basketball news. Joe, I cannot believe the Knicks are 2 games out of the championship.
Well, it's funny because me and a lot of people thought they didn't have a shot against the Celtics.
My hand is raised.
Yeah, and I'm happy to say I was wrong.
I'm happy too.
They knocked off the defending champions, in a decisive victory, in Game 6, 119-81. There was no doubt about it. Now they're going to the conference finals for the first time in 25 years.
Mercy.
Man, the last time the Knicks went to the conference finals, Jalen Brunson's father was on the team. Imagine that.
Wow.
So, they got a steep climb ahead of them because the Pacers are no slouch.
Oh no, they're not a slouch at all.
I mean, they came out and they punched Cleveland in the mouth.
Yeah, that hurt. That hurt because Donovan Mitchell, who's from Westchester, I root for him, and I know his family. I used to I know his family, and so yeah. But it's it's kind of I got to go with my Knicks. I know people are like, well, your cousin plays for the Pacers. How you gonna go for the Knicks? I said, well, I got love for my cousin. I got his jersey, but I'm split. I'm split.
Yeah. Well, hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Gotta do what I gotta do.
Now,
and I'm trying to get him. But, I'm actually trying to get his brother, who was in the league, because they were both in the league. And then, so I'm trying to get him through some cousins to talk to his brother, and then hopefully maybe at some point get to talk to him.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that would be cool. That would be cool.
that'd be cool.
Now the Nuggets, they battled, but they got ran over off the court by Gilgeous Alexander and the Thunder.
That boy is bad. And he got a supporting crew too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, I'm
Definitely.
like, oh, these boys is playing. Oh, they're not playing. Oh,
they're all young.
And they're all young. They made the Nuggets look old.
They did.
They made them look old.
You know, and they could beat you in so many ways. They could go big. They could go small. They got a tough defense.
Yeah. I got to ask you a question though.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said to me, Giannis to Houston.
I don't know. I can't see that. I can't see that.
Okay. Giannis, if not Houston, Golden State.
Golden State, maybe, yeah, because they're getting older. They're gonna need all the help they can get.
Yeah. But who do you think gives him the best chance to win now?
A lot of speculation was that the Knicks, he could come to the Knicks, but I don't know if that would work because I don't know how the chemistry would work with that.
Yeah.
You know, so that's going to be an interesting query where he goes.
Yeah. LA wouldn't work. People are trying to, LA ain't gonna work.
No.
And they need too much going on there. It's interesting though. Somebody said to me, Giannis to Minnesota.
That could work.
Pack up Rudy Gobert and 3 number ones, ship him out. And I said, man, Ant and Giannis and what they got there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they could go for a run. They may go for 3-4. They could go for 3-4.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Definitely.
That's a good look. That could work. So I just wanted to get your opinion on that. Yeah.
So what's with the money in Jaylen Brown?
Man, Jaylen is such a unique individual. He brought out, I was watching him, and he was just, the question came, why do so many NBA, players, athletes go? You just think about it for a minute. You're 18 years old, 19 years old, and you come into millions of dollars, right? And he says, to me, it seems criminal that your representation, your agent, whatever, doesn't set you up for legacy, doesn't give you good advice, doesn't da-da-da-da-da. And within 10 years after leaving the league, you're broke. That doesn't make any mathematical sense.
No.
And the other side of it, when was the last time you heard an agent go broke? You never heard that, right?
Yeah.
So, he brings up some good points. And, he says, come on, these are 18, 19-year-old kids. They got millions of dollars. If no one's putting them up on game and how to make it work, how to be smart with your money, don't get your head over heels in expenses, and you need advice. You need advice. You need good advice, excuse me.
Yeah.
So, I thought that was very insightful, because, and then, he went even further and talked about, people don't really take it into consideration the expenses you have as an athlete, Everything is not covered, the rate of how you get taxed, for 82 games, you're taxed in every different state. So if you're not up on that and don't have somebody on your team up on that, and then if you're getting yourself in a situation where you're living out a very, very high lifestyle, with no thought of the future, you know what I mean? It's a recipe for disaster.
Right.
And
don't forget about the baby mama drama.
Ooh, that is probably the quickest way to get to the poorhouse.
Yeah.
Lord. Because what's so crazy about it is it's really weird when you think about it. Like, the woman he's usually with is not even making six figures.
Mm-mm.
Right?
No.
He's created a millionaire lifestyle. So it's like, well, why are you, and I believe you should take care of your kids, but why are you giving her income to maintain the child? Because this is for the child, right?
Right.
At a millionaire lifestyle. And I've talked to many women about it, and many of them saying, Barry, ain't no way a child needs. How's a baby going to need $5,000 a month of maintenance?
Yeah.
Ain't nothing but eating and pooping.
Yep.
And rolling over.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's be real. And one of the ladies said to me, think about the situation 50 Cent was in. We was giving the mother of his child like $500,000.
Damn.
And she wanted to, yeah. And she wanted to go back to court and ask for more. And he said, no, we ain't going to do that. So he's before the judge, and the judge said, you're paying what? You gave her what? He said he moved her money, his monthly down to $6,700. Being greedy. But you got to ask yourself, but again, there's a book, very good book, The Psychology of Money. If you don't know or you don't understand how money works, and like the person brought out, it's one thing to make money. That's one skill. To grow money is another skill. And then to pass it on is another skill. They're not all the same skill.
No. So, you got to make your money work for you.
You better, because they can work overtime, triple time, third shift, fourth shift, while you sleep, while you eat, while you go to the bathroom. They ain't never got to go on vacation. So put them to work.
That's for sure, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Jalen did a great thing, just having a great conversation about just being smart with your chickens.
Yeah, definitely. Well, speaking of money.
Hey.
Okay, now the Yanks won the Subway Series, this round of the Subway Series, right? But all everybody wants to talk about is why Juan Soto got this puss on his face and why he's moping around and not looking like he's happy. He's got 765 million reasons to be happy.
Love.
And they're talking about how there's a lot of speculation about how he wanted to stay a Yankee, but he got overridden by his family, because they wanted him to go to the Mets, because I guess more money. So,
you see these forces that affect you as an athlete that people don't really realize. Because goodness knows how many families he's supported.
Yeah. And that's on top of the fact that, well, he got the Bronx cheer when he came into the stadium, and he went 1 for 10 in that series. And he hasn't really been doing all that much right now. I mean, it's still early, but they're saying how this is all affecting him.
Sure. I mean, think about it. If you're playing someplace that you really don't want to play, it's going to be very, sports, like anything else, it's your mindset.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why sometimes, a lot of times, athletes have to separate themselves, even from family, because, it's a phenomenon. People just look at you like you're a check,
Exactly.
And I mean, it's not like, the older folks in your family. You know what I'm saying? You look out for them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's young folk. I mean, Channing talks about, on the pivot, he says, when I came into the money, I told my family, well, listen, let me buy this building, this nice building. Y'all pay the rent to me. You're not going to pay market rent, right? And they balked at him. Like he said, they just expected me to just give them money.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, we're not going to do that. I'm going to help you get your own house, get yourself set up, get the education, take care of yourself. Right. But I'm not going to be just flumbling money to you. And it's crazy. people really don't know. You know?
Yeah. Well, we talked about how Tyron Smith's uncle was extorting money from him.
Him, Beasley, the basketball player. You know, a lot of that goes on. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So it was interesting. There, everybody's got their take on what's going on with him now.
Mhm.
So now this, I still can't fathom this. That this is still going on today. PEDs in baseball.
I'm not surprised.
I mean, Jose Alvarado, he's a reliever for the Phillies.
Uh-huh.
He just got suspended for 80 games for PEDs.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm taking any kind of medicine, I don't care if it's over the counter, I'm going to MLB and saying, is this legal?
Well, Joe, you're absolutely right. But what did we talk about a little while ago? These guys not really knowing. They built these Ferraris, but they don't know how to take care of them. Or they're trying to find the edge. And a lot of it is that, trying to find an edge. And the reality is there's no drug out there that's going to give you an edge. Either you have it or you don't. You got to put in the work. If it was easy, Joe, is taking a pill, you know how many people would be in pro sports.
But here's the thing. It was a weight loss drug.
Yeah, but see, you got to remember, Joe, many of these drugs designed for one thing also do other things.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there may have been some compound in the drug that probably masked, and he probably never thought, because it's a weight loss drug, it would be a problem.
It was exogenous testosterone. That's what he took.
See what I'm saying? You wouldn't think that would be in a weight loss thing, because you think testosterone, you're going to build muscle, you're going to get big, right? But see, what always cracks me up about these guys and girls who do this, y'all don't think they know? You messing with their money.
Right?
Why do you think they have testing labs? Because they know.
Now he just lost half of his salary.
You see what I'm saying? So the owner's skipping to the bank. He's like, well, I got that back. All right, good.
Yeah.
A lot of this, people don't know. A lot of this is really about the money.
Oh, it's always about the money.
What they can save, how they can leverage, because you got to ask yourself a question as being a professional athlete. And not all athletes, let me clarify, make millions of dollars. There's tiers to it, right? But if you're thinking about, if you're making the average now in any sport and just do one or two, I was talking to a hedge fund manager friend of mine, and he was like, Barry, if people really understood, Akon talked about this. He said on this show, he said, if you had $10 million and stuck that in the bank, or better yet, $100 million, Irv Gotti said, getting a 3-4%, you could get $5 million a year.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, easy.
Yeah.
And live off $5 million a year.
Exactly.
So you gotta stop and say to yourself, geez, guys, there's absolutely no reason for you to be broke.
Nope. Gail Sayers used to say it all the time. He used to say, how can these guys make millions of dollars and be broke?
But my hedge fund guy said, Barry, what kills people is not what the purchase, it's the maintenance. I said, really? He said, Barry, if you got a 25,000 square foot house, you got to furnish it, heat it, cool it, clean it, take care of the yard. That's all on top of the couple $1 million you spent for it. And that's regular. So imagine having $50,000, $100,000 a monthly maintenance.
Yeah, well.
You go broke quick.
and we'll have to stop right there.
We're going to stop right there. Next, hopefully, we're going to go, God willing, and talk about Shedeur I just want to say this. I have never seen a 5th-round draft pick make so much noise, get so much attention, Joe. It's amazing. It's amazing. But we'll talk about it next week.
All right.
Well, as we say on Smarterfan podcast,
stay in the game.
Stay in the game. See you next week, family. Be well.
All right. Good night.
Smarterfan. Ugh.